Hello, lovely viewers. This is LTV Let's Talk Show. Today, we are coming to discuss something very important. We believe it's not only for students, it's not for educators, but it's for the nation and the future of humanity. Because we believe that at every given point in time, students are prepared to become great potentials who, whether we like it or not, will occupy the great positions that today we find ourselves occupying. And I believe education gives us a great platform to be able to prepare students for life. And we cannot just say we are giving children education, but there are other aspects of life that we believe when attention is paid to, then it helps build the child to become very holistic in whether productivity at work, in marriage, in the Christian belief, or in every aspect of human endeavor. And this very issue we want to talk about has to do with the ban on corporal punishments. And because there's a ban on corporal punishments, we have seen in Ghana, most teachers don't have interest trying to correct children. Even those who try, the system makes them feel like they are doing the wrong thing. And if care is not taken, we will have grown-ups who are occupying offices and positions of authority, but lack the needed discipline to be able to manage whatever position they find themselves. And we all seem to benchmark our education and life in Africa to Europe, that's specifically US and UK. So today I have with us a very, very important guest, friends, pastor colleagues, who are here to take us through this very important topic. And I have with me, first and foremost, Pastor Benjamin Ashong. I would like to call him Pastor because that is the level to which we connect. He is in UK and he has been teaching for more than 14 years. So you can imagine the experience he has. And as we talk, you realize that one time he said, we have certain treasures, we have certain things we have to preserve as a nation. And when we don't do that, it doesn't foresee how the life we live and the type of educational system, if we want to compare it to US, whether we can manage it, and UK, whether we can manage it. So Pastor Ben is with us to take us through the educational system in terms of practice, in terms of learning, in terms of behavior in the UK environment. And then we have Mr. Roger. Mr. Roger is a master's degree colleague. And as I think last semester we're doing the same course, and you realize that I love his authority. His presentation comes with certain authority and concern about the lack of discipline in the UK system, and he believes that if that discipline can be well tuned with the education that we are giving our children, they'll be much better in their outlook to life. So I realize that we have a very solid personalities that are more than capable to handle this very important topic. So first and foremost, like I gave the background, Mr. Roger, I'll start with you briefly. What is the current state of the education system and discipline in your country?
Well, it's I have to make clear that even though I live in the United States of America. I wasn't born and raised in the United States of America. I was actually born and raised in a Spanish-speaking country that's in Central America. In Central America, I was a little kid in the 80s. And we also have to consider, location and time and generation. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you. You can go ahead.
Okay. I heard a voice in the background. I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry.
So back in there in the 80s, we definitely believe education, it's a tool. We had punishment. I believe that back in the 80s, punishment or correction was not really observed by the government. So the way that they handled that was teachers and parents would actually become friends and they would communicate with each other. And teachers treated us very similar to how parents treated us at home. So even though I did not agree with a lot of the strategies and methods the teachers had back in the 80s in a Spanish-speaking country, it felt very much similar to how a parent would treat us at home. So back in the 80s in the school system, physical or corporal correction actually did exist back in those days. It does not happen anymore. It has changed over the course of time.
Great. So in the 80s, there used to be a system that used to really discipline us when we are going astray. But currently, that seems not to be the order of the day. And you believe it is not the best.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yo, go ahead, I'm listening.
We noticed that over the course of time, I think that the government is not the governments in the American continent, because this is happening all over the continent. I believe the government has lost the orientation of human behavior. I think the government has lost asking the question, what constitutes a human being? It's a human being thing. We have to understand what constitutes a human being for us to be able to say what is correct and what is not correct. We have to understand the Bible does say, whether you believe in the Bible or not, the Bible does define that humans are wicked by nature. When we are born, we are born individuals that need correction. And I don't feel the governments believe in that. They fail to understand what constitutes a human being. And most of the correction that we have these days in the public education system is based on scientific psychology, more like they are trying to isolate the teenager and the child. They're hoping that the teenager and the child does a lot of reflection on what they did wrong, and they hope that they change the behavior anytime soon. And physical punishment has been taken away from the school in these days. So if a teacher is found attempting any type of physical correction, it's likely to get in trouble.
Great. Thank you very much for your submission.
Yes, sir.
Reverend Benjamin, please give us an overview of the current system in the UK in terms of education standard and discipline.
All right, thank you so much. For me, what I believe so much is, having been here for quite some time in the education system, when I look at the genesis of it, I feel I try to look at the source and how it began. When I talk to most of the grown-ups here, people in their 90s and stuff, they tell me that the sort of structure we have back in Ghana are the same structures they had here when it comes to discipline. But as time goes on, there was reformation and there was so much to do with teachers abusing the system in terms of disciplining children. So it moved from the power in the hands of a teacher. Now it is absolute power in the hands of the student now. When you are teaching a child at the moment in the UK, you can't touch the child. You can't touch. It is really an offense. You could lose your certification. You could lose all your hard work you put into teaching. So discipline at the moment, students have got more power when it comes to the classroom. And I think that is the same thing that is being portrayed in Ghana at the moment. But I feel that because there is no discipline at the moment, it has made the work extremely very difficult. And when you read Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24, it just says that he who withhold the rod, which Amplify use the word of discipline, hates his child. But he who loves him disciplines and train him diligently and appropriately with wisdom and love. So I think that one of the things we're missing here is the item of the wisdom and the love that is missing here. And I think that people didn't manage it properly. Therefore, it has made the place very, very difficult. It's not really easy to teach. I remember around 2007 when I started the whole teaching process here, I had to major in looking at what deter people from teaching. And so I had to move all over the country, starting from the west to the north, all over the place. And one thing I realized is that the discipline is another aspect. It's one thing to learn how to teach. It's another thing to learn how to manage the behavior. So my background has moved from the mainstream school, and I've worked all the way to the PRU and the people referral unit. So at the moment, for instance, where I work, it's all about all students who have been rejected from the mainstream school, and I work with them. We try to get them into a shape where we can put them back in the mainstream school. Where it is not possible, we put them back in a specialist school. So I think that at the moment, it is a very, very dicey situation to teach in the UK. And most teachers are getting more frustrated, and the accusations and the behavior is getting really out of control. And it has become worse. And that there is a trend with the behavior vis-a-vis the result or the outcome of the students. And it is really, really getting worse. If nothing is done about it, I don't think it will get better. And now with the system being introduced now, more power is being given to the student and the teacher when it comes to discipline. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Now, in both submissions, we have established the fact that one, power has shifted from the hand of the teacher to the students. And the student can determine the future of a teacher, whether you continue to earn your income or not. And then both of you establish the fact that in teaching, you don't just teach, but you also manage behavior. And Roger made a statement that by nature, humans are wicked. That is why, per what Reverend Benjamin read in the Bible, we understand that we need to correct children so that it helps them be a bit refined in their attitudes, nature, learning everything in order to become much better in life. Now, how does this transfer of power in terms of behavior management to the students impact on learning outcome in your environment? Reverend Benjamin, you can start.
I think that when you use the word You use one word that has really escaped me right now, but I think that we're looking at, there is no way, when you see a very nice tree that has been planted and is functioning properly, there is no tree by nature that wouldn't need pruning. Okay? It is our responsibility as our teachers to help shaping the child. The same thing, a plant must be pruned to get it into the shape required. So I think that by nature, as Roger just said, there is no child who will be able to grow properly without guidance. It is a key word we have to understand. Because children doesn't want to go on the right track. They want things that are fancy. They want things that are exciting. They don't want to go, they don't understand it. And that is why when you look at it carefully, when you have anything to do with a minor or a child who is under the age of 18, it is being classified as abuse because you've taken advantage over the child, because the child doesn't know what is right and what is wrong at that stage. So how do we allow them to dictate to us in the classroom? And as I said before, some people refuse to use wisdom and love, and that is what caused the whole problem. So I feel that at the moment, the way it is, if nothing is done about it, it is getting really worse. In the system in the UK, we have what we call the mainstream. Within the mainstream, we have we have academies that are independent from the main managed solely by shareholders or partners. And we have the government schools also here, but also we have grammar schools. Grammar schools, you have to write exam, and it's part of the mainstream school, but you write exam, entrance exam at when you are around the age of 11 years to 10 years. And when you pass that exam, you are put into a grammar school. Grammar schools are the most excelling students who are doing very well. And even within the fabric of those students, we are having behavior issues. It wasn't like that before. So at the moment, it is getting worse gradually, and even moving, the trend is getting worse. That's what I would say. And because now these students are using the system to abuse the system. I don't know whether you get it. Because, for instance, a child must be tested for a special need. I'm not withstanding the fact that there are some of them who really need special attention. But some students are using the system, the assessment system, to dupe the system. So now we are getting more students who are turning special, and this is affecting performance because there is no, they think they can do whatever they want and how they want it. And that is what their education system is teaching them. Even within the family system, I think the whole point starts from the family system, because the family system is being ruined. If a child they are being taught in school to phone certain numbers. When you phone these numbers, any help you need, you'll be attended to. And some parents are put in trouble because they lay hands on their children. And because the home is broken, we teachers cannot do much in the classroom, because if a child misbehaves, the first thing you have to do is try to put measures in place to control the behavior. If the behavior doesn't correct itself, what we do is that we phone parents to work alongside with them. If the home system is broken or there is no control or proper management of the behavior in the home, it ruins the whole system. And that is how we have more students going now to the care system, because their home is broken. And so far as the home is broken, there is not much the teacher can do, because the teacher have to depend on the home system to be able to enable him to do his work properly. That's what I'll say for now. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. You've made certain great comments, which I believe we Ghanaians we should take notice of some of these things. Please, if we don't take notice of some of these things, we don't have the system to manage youths and adults. Even currently, we don't have the system. How much more in the next 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years? And if we say corporal punishments, I think we need to really put a proper definition to what the law says. The law is putting emphasis on caning a child that inflicts violence or harm. Caning or any type of punishment that inflicts harm, pain, anything. But it's not saying that we should not correct the child. When I read through the UK, the Europe law, you realize that what they are saying is that it is not even every school, it is only public schools. But they've taken it like World Cup. The same thing when it comes to Ghana. The law is not saying that we should not punish children or we should not correct children. Let me use the right way. We should not discipline children, but rather we should do what? Rules have been enacted by which we can follow to guide the behavior of students. But unfortunately, we are trying to copy the UK and the US system, where when a teacher tries to correct, you can go home the next day. So please, let's take time to read the law very well. It is not saying we should not discipline children. And if as teachers, we can be well informed, when you try to correct a child and your supervisor or your headmaster or headmistress try to put you in a very tight corner, let's not be timid, because the future of our children is at stake. The future of our nation is at stake. Now, Sir Roger is with us. Sir Roger, I need you to give us a brief overview on how that lack of discipline, now power is in the hands of the students. So they decide what to do. How does that affect learning outcome?
Yeah, that's you just basically asked the big question that nobody wants to answer. Your question is very sensitive to me and it's very personal to me, because I have this conversation with authorities in the United States. And this is the type of question that authorities in the United States do not want to answer. The transfer of power, or the transfer of power, let's say authority, such as teachers, parents, governments, to the hands of the students is not a good picture. It's not looking okay. And it's changing society rapidly here in the United States. Supposed to be the most dominant country in the American continent. We have a population of 330 million people. Is the most populous country right now in the American continent. And the problem we see here is that this is something serious. The students are determining where they want to go. And sometimes where they want to go is not the right place. The goals of the students these days are based on pleasure, entertaining, easy work, no values, no responsibility. There is impunity in the school system by itself. The students are intimidating the teachers with lawsuits. Female students are using manipulation, twisting classroom casual events into events that never happened. I'm going to give you a personal experience. One time, a student accused me of something I did not do. And this was a female student. I was trying to correct the student for not working. I was trying to correct the student for not doing the right thing. And what happened was the student, she left the room. She went to get this high school principal, and she twisted the events. She lied about everything that happened in the classroom. And I ended up in a pretty bad spot to where I had to explain, and I had to basically defend myself against allegations. This power that has been given to the student is being used in the wrong way, and they have learned that they can use that power to benefit themselves. And I call these, in a certain type of way, impunity. When you question the authorities, high school principals and administrators, they do not want to answer the question. And the reason being is, the reason they don't want to answer the question is they don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to lose the paycheck. You have to understand that the United States public education system is based on tax. And the other thing that you need to understand is that public schools are funded by the amount of students that enroll in the system, by the amount of students that enroll in the building. Therefore, when the high school principal sees that he is beginning to lose the population of students, he's beginning to see less money coming into the building. Does it make sense? Therefore, the students are taking advantage of the situation, and they're saying they are afraid of us. We establish the rhythm of the class. We determine where we want to go. And the place we want to go is, we want a high school diploma with no academic work. And if you teachers don't listen to us, we are going to put a lawsuit on you, and we're going to have you fired. That is the situation in the United States right now as we speak. Thank you very much.
Let me add something to what he just said when it comes to the power being transferred to the hands of the student. I remember some time ago, a child misbehaved in the classroom. I went to her severally and told her to get on with her work. She consistently told me to go away. I don't want you close to me, just go away. And it was really frustrating and really rude. So after going to her repeatedly and consistently, at the end of the lesson, I had to phone parents and spoke to mom. On the phone, mom said to me, it's because you're not a good teacher. That is why she's misbehaving in your classroom. Immediately, I didn't argue with her on the phone. I just said, okay, come in for a meeting, and that should be able to handle the situation. Myself, you, and the head of department will have a meeting. So when the mom came over in the conference table, they asked me what was the issue. I said that I went to her repeatedly, and she constantly told me to go away. You know, I'm just nagging her and just worrying her. And she told me to go away. And especially when you are, regardless of whether you are born here or outside there, it's really difficult when you are a black man coming to teach foreigners here. And one of the things that happened was that because of her behavior, she went to tell mom that I was the one that's wrong, you know. So in that meeting, whilst I was talking to her and cited all the scenario and what happened, immediately mom said, that is not what she told me. So is that why were you lying to me? That in front of us, the child just said to the mom, shut up, mom. What can you do? What can you read? Can you even read a letter? I've been reading all the letters for you. Immediately, the mom started crying right in front of us. And I paused and I said to the mom, you have one in your house and you can't control it at the moment. I have 28 to 32 in my classroom and I have to manage them and teach them. Immediately, I walked out of the meeting. And that is how bad it is at the moment. The system has become so corrupted. If nothing is done to it, it will just go bad. Most of the schools I've taught in, we either have a camera in the classroom, not in the corridor. We have cameras in the classroom. That is how bad it has gotten to. And that is what I don't think Ghana really understands, that if we don't try to correct the mistake and build on the family system, and make it stronger, the future of our children will never go forward. So that is how it is. They don't respect parents, therefore they bring it to the classroom, and it's definitely making our work difficult. Thank you.
This is for your own hearing. Managing 28 students, and even at home, they are not even able to even manage their own children. But we know and understand that nurturing is a collective task at home and at the school environment. Then religious institutions come in. So if a law is in place, that doesn't give students the opportunity to adhere to standards that will help them to be refined over time. Then what do you see is a future of Africa? I want you to personalize it to Africa, because I know in Europe, even if you have not gone to school, at a point in time, the system will absorb you and engage you, whether pay you some money or whatever it is, or can even give you employment. But in Africa, we don't have that system and structure. Even people with masters and PhD are finished and they are still looking for a job. So how would this kind of law, I believe one thing is that I believe in Africa, we have not yet understood what the law says. The law is not saying that we should not discipline children or students when they go astray. But I think it is how we are going about it. We are trying to do it like the way Europeans are doing it. So what do you see? Africa, we don't have the system. Europe have the system. So if they are going by that, at least the future of the children are assured. What will be the future of the Ghanaian or the African youth in the next 20, 30, 50 years when this law is not well understood and implemented in the good intention it had? Please, it's a question. What to you? You are a Ghanaian and you know our terrain. So what? Just compare it with how resources in your country is able to help you, the youth able to migrate and become someone in future. But we who don't have the system, what do you foresee in the next 20, 30, 40 years to come?
Let me just say that what is going to happen is the fact that you're going to have a lot of corruption. It's just going to be so rampant. Corruption is going to increase because you have fewer people going for more resources. In the UK, if you are a child, I promise you, these children are really clever. I've taught in a school where a girl in a school who is in year 10 programmed herself to know that when she complete school at the age of 15, 16, if she's pregnant and give birth to a child, the government will give her minimum of a 2-bedroom house. Okay? And there is a group of students who have
by 16 years, they will give her 2-bedroom house.
Yeah. You have to get it because you can't sleep with your child in the same room. So definitely they have to make provision for you to have a room and for your child to have a room. So you'll be given a 2-bedroom house. You'll be given enough resources to be able to break you even. You'll be given allowance for yourself and for that of the child. And because your income, because the system is structured in such a way that because your income is falling below certain threshold, you qualify for certain benefit. But what is happening in the recent time is that those benefits are being reduced. And I remember I think in 2012, 2011, they were getting more funds, especially when you have your first child. If you have a child, your first child benefit, your child gets some benefit. The second child gets, so a family where you have 7 people in a family, the money the mother is making without working just from the children is quite enough. So the government restructured that system and reduced the money. I remember a parent came to me in our consultation meeting with a child and with parent. The mom said, you have to start taking your education serious because the money we used to receive, if you want to be home just like myself, the money you are going to receive is not going to be enough because now they've reduced it. So what most children does now is they try to emulate, they try to copy what their parents are in. So if your parents are not working, you don't see the benefit of working. And in the UK, if you are a teacher, it doesn't make you more important than somebody who is working in the fast food joint or no, the system is such a way that everybody is equal. And so far as everybody is equal, we all shop from the same shops predominantly. So there is nothing like somebody is well off than somebody else. But I think that where we are getting to with most African countries, we haven't got a facility to support those kind of transition. And it's going to pose a lot of pressure on the government and the family. That's what I'll say for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Africa, even when you finish, where to even lay your head is a challenge. So my dear viewers, please, this is the reality of where we find ourselves. We can't copy an idea and just implement it in the raw states. Sir Roger, please. If you have any submission in line with what Reverend Benjamin said, please go ahead. What we are saying is, you go ahead.
You were breaking up on me a little bit. I'm sorry. Go ahead one more time.
Yes, what we are saying is that currently, Africa doesn't have the resources to maintain the youth, even if they are not educated. Even those who are educated, they are having certain challenges. But I know in Europe, sometimes they even pay students to be able to go to school. And we don't have that opportunity. So if we should implement this law on corporal punishments in the raw state, the way it is believed we should do it, what do you think will be the future of the African child? Though you have not been in Africa, but in your country, what do you think is the challenge they are going through currently?
Well, you said it very well. You said keywords, and Mr. Benjamin also said some keywords. Some of the keywords that I wrote down on my paper was Mr. Benjamin mentioned corruption. Latin America, we, the Spanish-speaking countries, and Africa, the continent, we're very similar in history as far as, you know, colonization is concerned, and our governments, they behave in a very similar way. We have experienced that Latin America is very rich in terms of natural resources, but most of our leaders fail how to administer those natural resources we have, and that's when we call it lack of resources. But the reality is that we are rich, Africa's rich, Latin America's rich. If we don't have a correction system implemented, and not only a correction system, you got to think about how to use a correction system effectively, efficiently. If we don't start doing that now, whether it's Africa or whether it's Latin America, the Spanish-speaking nations, we are going to, and we are already suffering, I would call it a detrimental state of values, work ethics, and we are going to begin to go down pretty much in not only values, but behavior and production. If you notice all these superpowers, the Roman Empire, remember, what first started happening in the Roman Empire was a lack of values, a lack of understanding. That's what brought down the Roman Empire, and it begins to weaken. So when we lack values, we lack morality and the work ethics because of the lack of correction. That's when the nations, they begin to stumble down. And I think that's what the future of these nations is, whether it's Africa or Latin America. If we don't implement a correction method at the house, not in the system. Now listen to me. The school system is not a genie in the bottle. The school system is not a society problem resolver. The school system is a support system. We support the families. We are not supposed to do the job that the parent is supposed to be doing at home. So if the parents are not practicing correction and punishment, do not believe the school is going to fix it. It don't work out like that. We are supposed to be a reinforcement. We reinforce what the parent is already doing at home. So we have to understand that. A lot of times, these children come to school without correction at the house, and they expect us to fix it. It don't work out like that. So we got to be together, parents and the school system, and we both have to reinforce each other with a correction, effective correction system, so that we avoid what is already happening in our nations, which is the corruption, the crime rate, the lack of values and morality in authorities. Because what do we all have in common? What does the criminal, what does the raper, what does the thief have in common? They all went to school one day. They all had a teacher one day. But something happened. The system must have failed because we couldn't fix it. They became a criminal. They became a raper, a thug, a killer, right? What do they all have in common? The public education system. So we are the first, the government and the teachers. And we're not doing that. And it's beginning to affect the society. Thank you very much.
Of the day, crime, lack of values and morality, and other things that right now we may not be able to think about, but the reality is that we'll get to a stage where humanity will lose control, and God knows who would then be in the position to tell who to do what and not what to do. Now, are we missing the essence of education? If that's the case, are we missing the essence of education? After this, we will open the forum if anyone wants to ask a question. Are we missing the essence of education? Because as a life coach and a learning strategist, there are three key roles of education or purpose of education. 1, knowledge acquisition. 2, skills development. 3, shaping character. Shaping character. So if per what the rules that in the good intention is that don't inflict physical pain on the child, but rather have an interactive approach to seek to understand the challenge of the child, and then come up with measures and rules to help the child overcome those behaviors over time. But we are not seeking to understand the law in that order. We are looking at it just from the point that don't correct a child. If that becomes the order of the day, then what is the essence of education? Why then do we take our children to school?
No, let me give you a typical example. I went to tutor one child who was around the age of 6 to 7. So over here, she was in key stage 1 or key stage 2. So this is the year group I'm talking about. 7 years, 6 years. When I went to tutor this child at home, she was sitting down quietly. And I said to her, "Are you all right?" And just trying to engage in the lesson. Mom called me aside and said she just broke up with a boyfriend at the age of 6, 7. Number 2, when I saw this child after 7, 8 years, she was kicked out of the house. She's now living with a boyfriend. She saw me in a shopping mall and called my name straight away. I said I couldn't remember her. She said I was this, I was that. So right away, she determined her future by her action during the time I was working with her. You have an institution where at the age of between 12 and 13, you are given the chance as a boy to put a condom on a stick, and you qualify for the supply of condom in a school. So the school will supply the children with condom. At the moment, you don't need parental involvement when you're a girl and you want to have contraception. You don't need that. You are responsible for that. So you can undertake it, because now they are saying that there is no way we will stop them. So we have to put precautions in place. At the moment, some of the children I deal with, they are between the age of 11 to 13. These children are on drugs. They are on alcohol. They drink. They haven't got a life outside this. What they talk about on Monday morning is who smoke more, who is selling what, and who is dealing with this. That is the kind of children that they are bringing up with. And I think that one of the things I want to stress on to parents on this platform, you have to be very conscientious about the people your children mingle with. The associations of your children, you have to determine it, you have to control it. Because if you don't take control over it, yes, there was a boy who came to the school, very clever, very gifted. And within 2 months, he wasn't in smoking. He wasn't smoking weed or never. He's never even tested it before. He was introduced to it. And unfortunately, the people who introduced him to it, now he's ahead of them. He doesn't even want to come to school. All he wants to do is to smoke. This is how bad it is getting. And if we parents don't rise up to deal with these challenges, our children will have no future. Thank you very much.
Sir Roger, do you have any addition?
No, I just want to reinforce what Mr. Benjamin just stated. We have been able to mention something that I wanted to get to from the very beginning, and is that this is teamwork. We have to remind ourselves this is teamwork. The government is definitely losing orientation, because we live in these societies where they believe the government and the church must be two separate entities, and the church should not work with the government, and the government should not work with the church. The question is, whose moral values are we going to follow? Are we going to obey the standards of men, or are we going to obey the standards in the Bible or the Christian values that it has already proven to work? It has been able to produce the most productive human beings. That's the question that we need to ask, because if the government is losing orientation, like where Mr. Benjamin just stated, that the government supplies contraceptive in the school system. I did not know that. I haven't seen that in the United States. Fortunately, they haven't done that in my school. Hopefully, I don't get to see that. But I was shocked when Benjamin said that. I was speechless when I heard that.
Yeah.
My daughter is 8 years old. If anyone is handling condoms to my daughter, there will be a problem. I'm going to step in the building very, very upset. We got to, guys, we have to understand whose values are we going to follow? Society or God? And this is why we're losing. This is the reason why society is out of track. It's not on track. We're not on track anymore as human beings. And it's because we're not listening to what the Bible is telling us. We are determining to determine what is correct and what is not correct. We're going back to the beginning. We're going back to Genesis. We're just making the same mistakes over and over. That's all I want to say.
Great. Thank you very much. We keep making the same mistakes over and over again. But I believe that religion has not really packaged itself well to make its voice heard. That is how come we have reduced the values of religious standards, and we now allow human rights in quotes to reduce the standard of human being to where we find ourselves now. Please, Sir Frederick, if you have any question to ask.
What I want to find out is, why is it that the Western leadership somehow have decided to come in with all these policies that are clearly having negative consequences on the education of children?
Okay, so please, any of you can answer. Pastor Ben.
I think that when there is a problem, that is when there will be a solution. And there are, for me, what I can see is that there is room for the people must be employed. So the more problem you create, the more funds you have to provide for the problem to be solved. And I think that even if you scrap behavior issues from schools, when you look at the system, the agencies that you will lose, people who will lose their job, is going to be massive. So in other words, if they don't want to lose the jobs, they have to be able to create a problem there for them to be able to solve it. And I think that that is how it, because the reason why I'm saying this is
excellent.
Before, parents were not bringing their children to school. Children can come to school as and when they wanted to. Then in the UK, they created a system where parents could be fined for not allowing their children to come to school. Immediately, parents started putting their children to school. Okay, so I feel that there are problems that a lot of people are involved. I promise you, if you take behavior from school, look, okay, Roger, I don't know about your system, but maybe you can educate me. Look at, you have the office, the main office, the human, what do you call it? The finance office or whatever deals with it. Then look at the amount of system in the school, the number of people who have been employed to take care of behavior. Teaching assistants, SCN, or there are too many people in the school that is not directly related to teaching, but supporting the behavior in order for it not to get worse. So I feel that if it is eradicated, there will be a lot of unemployment within the system.
Okay, 7. I'm shifting between Sir Ben, Pastor Ben, Reverend Ben, but forgive me because we are seeing something very important here, and I am on the other hand sad and I'm alarmed at the same time, because if majority of the staff is handling behavior, why did we take time to create this problem before we are now getting a lot of people to manage the rods? When in the course of the teaching, the teacher could take care of the behavior. Why have we allowed ourselves to get to this point?
It is a journey of no return, absolutely. And it's not going to reduce, it's just going to get worse if nothing is done to eradicate the root of the situation. And it is hard, it is really hard. And at the moment, funds are, the schools are losing funds. And before, when I started teaching in the UK, we had about 12 to 13 students in a classroom. A stream was 13, then it appreciated from 13 to 15, then it went from 15 to 18, then it moved from 18 to 21 maximum, then it went to 25, 24, then it went to 31, 32. Now it's just increasing. And that is the way it is. And more special needs schools are being created. I promise you, there was one case I had that really, I just couldn't get it. Even if you misbehave in the classroom, there are children who poo in their rooms and put it under their bed. There is a condition for that. They poo in the bowl or whatever it is and put it under their bed. They eat in their room and chuck it under their bed. And that is a problem. That is a diagnosis you have to find. There is a solution. I promise you, they have name for everything. They have name for everything. I remember when I was in school, there were a number of people who I think that if they were in this country at the moment, they'll be given a special need, they'll be given a special need treatment. They'll be given, and some parents, when your child is put under this special needs, you get funds from the government, you get money. Oh. So most parents want to get their children there, diagnose them. And I promise you, this student, they educate their own colleagues and say, when you go, behave like this, behave like this, behave like this, you qualify. And now they take pride in saying that I'm this, I have this disorder, I have this, I have this. They take pride in it. It's like a competition now. It's getting worse.
So the money is the motivation for beginning the behavior, and then it gets to the worst.
Yeah, it gets to out of control.
So Roger, if you could answer Joshua for us, he asks, why is it that the government seems to be creating more problems, rules and regulations?
Yeah, he's back.
You froze for about 5 seconds on me. The question you asked me was, why is the government creating more problems than solutions?
Yes, please.
Benjamin mentioned something that I believe is happening. I have always seen United Kingdom as a superpower. I don't know how the United Kingdom is viewed by other countries, but I was taught that industrial revolution started in England. So they have been leading, they have been the leading country in Europe for quite a while now. And they also colonized most territories around the world. They also taught us that United States of America is the leading country in the American continent. When I came here, I said, well, it does have a lot of money. So houses are bigger. They have larger cars, larger buildings. But there was a very important domain that United States did not have better than us, the Spanish-speaking countries, and that is the level of morality was about the same or worse. So we human beings, we place a lot of emphasis on money. We were taught if you make money, you will be happy. And that has become a standard in human life. If you notice, most philosophies these days, entertainers around the world, especially America, that produces the most entertainers, every music, every topic, every theme that I hear is money. So going back to the question, why is the government creating more problems than solutions? The reason is like I said earlier, they lack understanding. They have a detrimental state of mind and a detrimental state of knowledge, to where the government believes that if I supply money, I will create happy citizens, and that's not true. People need challenges. We human beings, we need to be challenged. It's not about supplying money. United States does have an unemployment check for Americans. So if you are unemployed, you have to go through a process. It'll take some time. You have to fill out some forms, and the United States will give you a check. It has produced a large number of Americans that they enjoy being unemployed. That does not exist in Spanish-speaking countries. We don't have that type of money to give a check to a citizen every month. We have seen that the more benefits, apparently, the more benefits you get, it seems to be able to produce a very lazy human being. The easier your life is, the less productive you become as a human being.
I agree 100%.
So the government does not understand what constitutes human life. So because the government does not understand what constitutes human life, they keep making the same mistakes. The second reason is what Mr. Benjamin already mentioned. There is a corrupt system, and in order to sustain and keep the system the way it is, we need to create more issues. And if we create a war, if we create a fictitious disease, then let me give you an example. COVID is one of them. We create COVID, we have to create vaccines. We create a virus that is already proven to be coming out of laboratory artificially. Now we have to buy more vaccines. The pharmaceutical industry goes up. Doctors got more job, nurses got more job, and COVID has killed about 1 million people around the world right now, and it don't matter. It don't matter how many people die, as long as we can guarantee, more vaccines, more medicines, and pharmaceutical companies, increasing their income. So that's a very good way to explain it. The government needs to be able to control population. How do we control population? By creating fictitious solutions. They are pretending to help us. They are pretending to create solutions, but these solutions are not real solutions. They're just keeping the same problem, but they're wearing a mask. So what you see is a mask. All these supplies that Mr. Benjamin was talking about that are not needed. I don't think that we should have condoms in high schools. I don't think that's needed.
No, not at all.
I think that what we need is we need to have prevention is better than condoms.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take Albert Einstein to conclude that. So why we have these smart people at the White House? Why do we have these smart individuals with doctor degrees, diplomas, but they cannot come up with a smart statement? That's a good question. Thank you very much.
Thank you too for our own hearing. Coach, please, the floor is open for your question.
Was I going to ask a question?
Yes.
I think,
Okay.
so let me make a contribution and then ask that question.
Great.
But your facilitators have given us a diagnosis of the situation. I like the illustration about one teacher to 28 people. But the society has changed. The society used to be a small village. It became a city. And now we have what we call the global village. And guess what? The 3-year-old girl is connected to Japan from Ghana. And the 10-year-old boy is connected all over the world. Why do we think one teacher alone can help? When we were growing up, the definition we have for a teacher was somebody who stands in place of the parent. And Roger talked about collaboration and partnership between the teacher and the government and the parent. So there are many parts of the society that are broken and that are linked from what is happening. If I go to Ghana, the situation changes from the rural area to the city. For example, if I'm a parent in a certain village, by 5 a.m., I should be on my way to the farm. Who sees what the child does? If I'm in the city, 3 a.m., I have to, and if I have a car, I have to pack the children, take them to school. So of the society has changed in such a way that first, the connection between the people in a family unit, and then this is brought to the school. Now, let's ask myself, do people know that learning appreciates the value of a person, of an institution, and therefore of a country? Why is it that African government spend a huge percentage of their resources on things that do not promote learning and the increase in the value of the human resource? They have money to buy obsolete ammunitions from Russia and from other places because of corruption, as we said. Now, talking about values, it's very interesting because the kind of value you set for yourself will determine how you live and set your standards. So let's go back to the illustration of one teacher to 28 students. Let's look at the impact interventions from the 27 children upon the one person and how these together impact on the teacher. How can one teacher be able to discern and correct these deviant behaviors? Moreover, teachers are not trained to be behavior, specialists. That is another area altogether. So we are looking at the dynamics, the changes in the society, but we are not looking at the deciders and people like a teacher in a classroom who is charged with promoting that kind of behavior. So if the child comes from a broken home, when I talk about broken home, I'm not talking about where there is a divorce. I'm talking about where the structure of the family is out of place. Then what can the teacher do? We are looking at the future. The future does not look bright. If children 11, 12, 13 are prepared to become parents and legally allowed to become parents, then the future doesn't look bright. Thank you.
You know, let me rectify something here. When it was 12 to 13, we used to have a TA in the classroom with support with special needs. So you could be in the classroom with 13 to 14 students, and you have a teaching assistant and with somebody with special needs. So you have about 2 people in the classroom supported. When it increased to 31, now they said no TA is allowed in the class. TAs are not going to be in the class because the resources are limited. Ghana, for instance, when I used to be in Ghana many years ago, I bought my own exercise book, I bought my own pen, I bought my own calculators, I bought my own textbook. In this institution here in the UK, no child buys a pen, pencil, rubber, calculators, textbook. Even if you put a calculator down. In Ghana, if you put a calculator down mistakenly, by the time you realize it could be picked away from your decks, somebody could pick it up. In this institution, I promise you, leave the calculators in the classroom, nobody will pick it. They don't want it. They are not interested in learning. And I think that the motivating factor that engineered our effort in learning, it is not the same priorities this generation has got. The reason being that they said, go to school and you get a good job. Go to school and you'll be employed. Over here, there is no point. The money you are looking for, somebody who is not educated can get the same money through a system. So why do they have to bother? And I think that is where the priority is missing. If our children will get to know, and I want to say to all parents on this platform, regardless whether your child is in the mainstream or private school, please try and get a private tutor for your child, regardless which school they are in, because the education system is getting to a point where it is becoming more demanding, but less engaging within the school fabric, within the fabric of the school. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for your submission and the advice. Please, do we have any other question? You can.
Yeah, can I add something from the US?
Okay.
Now, I'm happy to hear that in the UK, the children don't buy anything. But in the US, it's completely different. In the public schools, some teachers spend half of their salary buying school materials. And when school begins, corporations, stores, and all those kind of things, they have to chip in. But in the course of the term semester, you see these teachers coming in. Also, as the last speaker said, now there is the promotion of what we call homeschooling in the US, but it cannot be done in Ghana. Why? What I've come to realize here is the availability, engagement, and capacity. Here, the parents try to engage their children. They might even learn to be able to help the children. But in Ghana, availability is not there. The woman goes 4 a.m. to the market to sell or go to the farm. Or sometimes she travels 3 days away to come back. So the parent will not be there to help the child. So as we look at the systems across the globe and as we try to adjust them to suit our environment, we come up with challenges. And this is one of the challenges we face in Ghana. One, how much is one paid to have a private teacher? There is a way to go about it, like a group private teaching. And it was there long time ago in Ghana. But now, to have a group teaching is something that is attractive, but it's not well structured. So if you have a group of teachers who would offer that, then the market has to be designed in such a way that they will be able to provide a service by looking at the income levels and pricing structure to be able to, serve it. So in looking at things that are done across the globe, the peculiarity of a particular nation is such that we have to do some deep thinking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, we have further questions. If you have, please unmute and then let's flow.
May I
Alex.
read that even if your income, the household income fall within certain boundaries, children are allowed to have free school meal. That is how nice it is here. You know, you get free school meal. You get free school meal straight away. Yeah, they get free school meal when your income. They even get free bus pass to also come to school. They get free. Everything is most of the time free. If you fall within certain income level, you get most of the things free. Everything free. Dental free. Everything free.
Yeah, that is because the taxing structure is made that the government can collect taxes.
But in Africa and Ghana, we don't have such a system. So, dear parents or teacher, headmaster, headmistress that is here, please, we are begging you. We don't have the structure. We don't have the funds. So, if you leave the nurturing of your child, the education of your child to only the school system, and when your child is doing something, you go to the school and say, hey, why are you trying to discipline my child and all that? Know that you are licensing your child for failure, because the Europe have the system, they have the funds to keep doing it. We don't have it. Now, let me read briefly just the point of the positive discipline tools that GS has prescribed in disciplining a child. One, writing lines. In other words, you have to write lines. Now, maybe if I used to fight in class, I'm going to write, I will not fight in class again. You write lines. Two, cleaning. The child will be made to clean the environment or maybe do community work. Then designated sitting position. You have to let the child sit at a certain position that will be different from where he or she used to sit. Then you move to counseling. You now engage the child to counsel the child. Let me just end it that way. Our part of the word counseling means advising the child what to do and not what to do. Then 5, extra tax. If the child keeps doing the same thing over and over, you give the child extra tax to do. And then 6, withdrawing a responsibility. If the child maybe enjoys certain benefits, you now have to withdraw it. And then 7, letter to the parents. The school has to write a letter to the parents about the chronic misbehavior of the child and all that. But sincerely speaking, the truth be told, as a life coach and someone who is so passionate about human potentials, please, these are not the ways. Sorry, but I'll be truthful to you. These are not the ways to instill discipline in the school. A child, 10 years, 15 years, who is misbehaving, why would you let a child go and do community work? There is an underlying cost factor for the behavior of that child. Engage life coaches, engage people who can help. Even we have school counselors. They don't even have offices of their own. We have school counselors who don't have the know-how of behavior management. So please, we have a peculiar issue in our part of the world. Let's not just say that there's a ban on corporal punishment, which I believe is not bad, because you don't have to beat a child to a certain extent to think that that will let the child become refined or better. No. Caning should be the medium to last resort in nurturing a child's behavior. So Please, teachers, if you are here, be bold. Be bold to fight a good cause and be interested in the welfare of the child you are teaching rather than just your money. Because you might think you give your child the best. By the time you have given your child the best, a parent or a teacher who overlook a child's behavior will one day come and rob everything you have told in giving your child within a second. So this is not, oh, me, I have, let me just give my child the best. It's a collective decision. And I believe if we all can have that empathy and foresight in ensuring that the government of the day and any government that will come who does not understand the impulse of this law from the intent of inflicting harm and not that we should not discipline the children. If you can have this understanding, please, then our country can be well shaped. We give our children the best to be prepared for life. See, with all that they have said, me, I can tell you, if Africa, we can make our homework well, Africa will be the spotlight to provide human resource to Europe. Though we are doing it, but we are doing it on a small scale. But it can be on a larger scale because their human labor now are not being prepared well for the field of work. That is how come an African who is, sorry to say, an average or a poor student can go to Europe and become an excellent student, getting all the grades. Why? So we have the opportunity. Let not throw everything in the dust or in the name of what? A ban on corporal punishment. And if you need any guidance, you need any further training, coaching in line with this, Lordstone Life Coaching Consult is available. We can come to your school, we can engage your children, prepare them with the right skills and understanding of what education is. Look, currently I'm coaching a lady at Legon, level 200. She doesn't even know why she's in school. She doesn't know why she's even studying and the implication for the future. So each semester she fails in the exams. And I started engaging her. I mean, I don't know why I'm even here. And look, please, let's take the bull by the horn and use the education platform to prepare our children for life and not just for the academic excellence. Thank you very much for your time. If there is any question, any submission, any last comment anyone wants to make, please, you are good to go.
Yeah, I only wanted to say that definitely as far as Ghana is concerned, I've never been in Ghana. As far as I know, it's a beautiful country, and I had, like I said, like Mr. Aaron already stated, we met at a different platform. It happens to be a university online. But the one thing that these countries need to do is they need to follow what is convenient to them, as opposed to be looking at England and United States of America, because like I said before, I'm already in the United States, and we have reached to a point where United States is selling an image to the world that is not true. There are two Americas. There's the America you see on TV, and there is another America, which is the one that struggles. A lot of the stuff you see on TV is not true. United States right now, it's in a very tight situation to where the morals, the values, are being lost. It's difficult to have a conversation about morality these days at any level. So I think that African nations, they need to go back to collectively work together. Like I said before, the government, the families, And even the church, I know it's a lot of minutes together, and they have to decide best. I also believe in prayer. I think we have to bring prayer back to the school. They prohibited prayer in the United States, by the way. So it is not recommended to pray in schools. You can get in trouble if you do that. I believe that is wrong. I don't know how they do it in Africa, so I cannot speak for that. But we got to bring prayer back to the school as well, whether you believe in prayer or not. But let's use prayer at least as an opportunity to get together, parents, government, teachers, students. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your wonderful remark. And I will say that is the way to go. Now, I think Abdul asked a question or made a suggestion. Yes, my email is on the chat and my contact number. If you need any other clarification, we can talk offline and then we'll help you out, or anything you want. Please, this will be has been recorded. It will be on LTV YouTube channel. I'll upload it and then send the link. Please, we entreat that when you watch, you subscribe to the channel and then share and let as many people also get to benefit from this very important information. I believe it will go a long way to bring the confidence we need as teachers, educators, to really help our future leaders. Thank you very much, all of you, for your time, my special guests. I really appreciate your time, your availability, and your great inputs. And it was just purely a conversation from the heart to a crying continent. And I believe we have heard it on a good note, and we will learn from it. And everyone who made time to be with us throughout this, we really appreciate your time. Thank you. God bless us all. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.